Hello, America. I want to talk to you tonight about misdirection, lies, and damned lies, ultimately. Everything that is happening right now is linked together in one big globalization salad. It's so delicious. Who doesn't love a good salad? It's no surprise that the two biggest issues that the Trump administration is getting hammered on are tariffs and immigration. Lies. We are being lied to. And what are the ramifications? Well, watch this.
And now we embark on a new chapter, a vision of harmony, where homes and hearts unite. 402 acres of beautiful scenery. Welcome to the future of living. Welcome to Epic City. Nestled in the heart of Josephine, Texas, it is about 20 miles and 20 minutes from Epic.
Love that. Love that. Especially that tune. Who doesn't have that? I have that on repeat all the time. Anyway, Epic stands for the East Plano Islamic Center. It's a mosque right down the street in the Dallas area. Now, they're proposing a Muslim neighborhood it's basically a small city within a city within the DFW Metroplex. I'm going to have more on this and the people behind this later on in the program. But should you be worried? Well, as I'll show you later in the show, the governor of Texas definitely is. The mosque, however, says there's nothing nefarious going on. Is it possible we're being lied to and have been lied to about the virtues of globalization? We've been told by politicians and people like the World Economic Forum that globalization is the future. What exactly does that mean in reality? Free trade, unchecked immigration. And ever since the 1990s, the Western world took this as scripture. Communities all over the world bent to restructure their society, sacrificing culture, businesses, large and small, and people's job on the altar of the almighty globalization. If anyone dared to give an opposing opinion and push back in the slightest of ways, they were called a protectionist, or worse. It was used as slander. You were either on board, full-on globalist, or you were one of those dirty protectionists. You see, to these people, like Klaus Schwab over at the World Economic Forum, nothing is worthy of protecting. Not borders, not immigration numbers, not equal trade, nothing. Oh, and speaking of those people, our good buddy Klaus Schwab is stepping down at the World Economic Forum. And coincidentally, his exit comes right smack dab in the middle of a discrimination investigation over at the WEF. Well, you mean the champions of both women's and racial rights being accused of being mean to both women and black people? Tell me it's not so. Misdirection and lies. We were lied to from the very beginning, and we should have seen it coming a little more clearly when China was accepted into the World Trade Organization in 2001. Seriously, China. Did the experts actually believe that China would be good global citizens and trade fairly and they wouldn't use slaves or anything? Or was this actually about globalism and the transformation of Western society? I'll give you a second. Time's up. Maybe we wouldn't have noticed things like Muslim no-go zones within major cities if we were drunk off $200 50-inch flat-screen TVs. I mean, who's going to care? For people that live in places like New York City or Los Angeles, who's going to care if middle America is gutted, if factories disappear, decimating American production? Those people in all of the big cities, the places where elections are won, they're paying basically pennies for their Chinese-manufactured iPhones, and they can get a new, cheap one every 12 months. Consumerism hides the transformation of society. And yes, that is what this is ultimately about. Consider this from the new president of the George Soros Open Society Foundation. Listen.
It's a moment in the world where we're being called on to redesign the world. All of us, in whichever space we occupy, is just a time where what we do now will shape the next 50 years.
I didn't get that call. Did you get that call? Hey, Glenn, we need you to redesign the world. I didn't get that call. I didn't even know they were doing that. This is what the experts are doing. And they're doing this heavily through things like immigration and trade policy. Just look at the issues today and see if you can spot the misdirection and the lies. We were told NAFTA would make life better. Why? Free trade, free trade. If you live in a small town in middle America, how has your community fared after the passing of NAFTA? Probably not too well. And a quick examination of free NAFTA trade is an explanation enough. The biggest international balkers of Trump's tariff have been in our own backyard. But have you looked at the trade breakdown from both Canada and Mexico before Trump stepped in? Look at this. Let's see. What does NAFTA's free trade actually look like? Wow. Look at this. Canada. Tariffs before the U.S. Wow, that's, one of the biggest criers of Trump's fair trade initiative has some of the largest tariffs I've ever seen. Mexico is right behind them. Okay, before we go into tariffs a little more, let me just read this. This came out this afternoon. Based on the lack of respect that China has shown the world's markets, I'm hereby raising the tariff charge to China by the United States to 125%, effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the United States of America and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Department of Congress, Treasury, and the U.S. Trade, to negotiate a solution to subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I've authorized a 90-day pause and substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thanks for your attention. So what just happened there? The president's going after China and going to, punish anybody who's an enemy. And then based on the fact that, things are, a little dicey right now, pausing on everybody, all of our friends. Okay, but what have our friends actually done? What has NAFTA actually done? What do they do? I mean, besides help destroy small farms, factories, communities, and American jobs. This is not free trade. Just like Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, it had nothing to do with, bringing down prices and inflation. This is the way things work. Politicians gin up a clever title and sell it to the American people, and then they proceed to screw the American people. Europe's no different. Before Donald Trump, we supposedly had free trade with the European Union. Well, yeah, if you don't look at this small list, I mean, that's not necessarily good. My gosh, Wally, Mom's going to be really upset when she gets home, find out that Dad liked the European tariffs on all our goods. So why are they pissed off when we put on our own tariffs? Well, Europe's going to be Europe. I don't understand them. I don't care to. But it was interesting to see the light bulb go off recently from the UK's Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. He's declaring the end of globalism and is admitting that it has failed the public. Now, for some reason, I don't believe he actually means that. But Europeans all over the Eurozone are waking up to this. They're watching as their own manufacturing, their power is diminishing, and how their small towns are being gutted from the inside out. Their culture is being replaced through unchecked immigration. And if there's any kind of opposition to either of these, oh my gosh, just watch what happens. I mean, they were sitting there watching over in France as judicial tyranny erases all elected opposition. The French opposition leader, Marine Le Pen, banned from running for office for 5 years by activist judges. Never happened before. Why? Well, she opposes globalization. Now, whether you agree with her or not, she was ousted purely because she wanted to go another way. And millions of French people support her. Have you ever heard of something called democracy? Yeah. That doesn't exist all over the world now. It is lawfare by judicial decree. And this is one of the weapons that globalists use for societal transformation. It's happening all over the world, not just here. And our own president has a mugshot to prove it. And how and why has the judicial branch all over the world obtained so much power that they can immediately halt presidential administrations, destroy mandates, even jail political opponents? Well, you don't need to look much further than the legislative branch of government. Judges have gained so much power due to the fact that elected officials have ceded it to them. Elected officials, they don't want to vote on things actually, because then you hold them accountable. You know, they stay away from voting on issues that are just too politically explosive. They punt. But not before their branch of government gains power and appoints federal judges in the districts they know will rule in line with their agenda. Congress wields power by excusing themselves from the issues that we want action on. They campaign on fixing the problem, they rile up the masses, and then they go to Washington and they do nothing except watch the chaos and then point fingers. You want to know how Congress manipulates public opinion to gain power? Take a look at what they campaign on. Refuse to act on one of these things once elected? Oh. Federal judge ends up ruling on it after we get pissed off. Here are the top 5. Number 1, abortion. Congress has refused to address this for decades. Doesn't it belong there? It was left up to the courts every single time. Abortion was never something they wanted to solve. It was too politically valuable. Next, affirmative action in education. Why solve this when we can use it as a weapon to divide Americans along racial grounds? You'll never see anything from Congress on this. It's been left up to the courts every single time. Then there's environmental regulation. Again, politically valuable for our elected representatives, so you don't really want to rush and solve that. And this is why we got the Chevron deference that grew the bureaucracy to unprecedented levels. This lasted from a court decision in 1984 all the way up to its reversal last year. And next, maybe biggest of all, immigration policy. We have seen immigration addressed through executive action through federal courts, today used as a weapon from activist liberal judges. What we will never see is an actual law from Congress. Why? Well, nobody wants to be held responsible for anything anymore, and it's just too politically valuable to let unchecked immigration ravage our cities. You use the uproar as political capital to get elected. And then you have the other side leverage when they do deal with it. Cue AOC crying in the white suit in front of a detention facility. Now, number 5, something you're never going to see solved, voting rights. You're not going to see a law on this one. Why? Because shady politicians like to do shady things that politicians do. And if there was actual common sense voting laws, the shady guys would suddenly get booted, or what they're doing in the shade would suddenly become illegal. They can't have that. Better let the courts handle that. We're not totally going to piss everybody off. Politicians are generally the same all over the world. Power achieved is obtained in the same way. Their legislative bodies have punted on the top 2 issues over there to their judges. Environmental issues, same exact thing as us, and immigration, strangely, same as us. These 2 issues and the inaction of their governments actually caused the rise of people like Le Pen in France. And now the judges ruled on these issues, now have banned her from running. That's fascinating how that works. Europe's decline is a warning to us here in America because we have embarked down that same path. When I come back, I'm going to show you the future through the lens of the collapse of Europe. Next. All right, I want to talk to you a little bit about relief factor. There comes a time in every man's life when he injures himself, sleeping. Pathetic. I've done it. You wake up and you're like, I can't move. All you did was sleep. Didn't happen when you were a kid. You wake up in the morning, you can't turn your neck left or right, not because you were working out, not because you fell off a ladder because you were doing something. I was hit by a bus while I was saving a child. No, I dared to use a pillow. Apparently, that happens to some people, and that's when you realize you're like, oh, I don't bounce back as much anymore. Here's the good news. There's something called Relief Factor. It's a daily supplement, not one of those quick fix drugs that often don't work and leave you feeling woozy. And it works with your body to reduce inflammation, which is even more responsible for that pain than your stupid pillow is. I didn't expect much the first time I tried it, but it gave me my life back, and it could do the same for you. It's $19.95. Try Relief Factor's quick 3-week quick start. It's less than $1 a day. 800-4-RELIEF. 800, the number 4-RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com. In the battlefield that is globalization, both trade and immigration are the main weapons. Wielding these weapons gives the ability to elevate economies, level out the more powerful ones like the United States of America, or transfer the populations from one part of the world to another. And if you have a problem with any of that, any of the above, well, you're a dirty protectionist or even a far-right Nazi. That's really probably more who you are. Unchecked immigration is decimating the Eurozone and Great Britain. Decimating. Now their media and politicians claim this is not the case. What are you talking about? They have things like Muslim no-go zones. That's a lie. They don't have any of that. They say that all of this is right-wing lunatics that are stirring up problems. But when you actually look at statements from actual police officers that are on actual streets, when you cut through the spin of state-run media like the BBC and go local, the truth becomes an awful lot clearer. Like this article in Germany back in 2015. The mayor of one of those German towns stated, quote, I certainly wouldn't want to walk through some of the neighborhoods alone in the evening. Now notice he didn't dare say a no-go zone, because that would hint that, it wouldn't even hint at it, right? It would just prove that he's a right-wing racist. And he's lost control of his city. You see a lot of European and British tap dancing when it comes to immigration. Fred Astaire everywhere. This article goes on to describe how lawlessness has been the result of Europe's open border policies. Let me show you this. This is a German train conductor. He told the outlet that the situation has gotten so bad that most of them prefer not to run their trains through all of these areas. And check this one out. Quote, if I demand that stricter enforcement of rules and regulations are enforced, I'm sure I'll immediately be labeled right-wing. And that's how it begins. Representatives refuse to act due to the explosiveness of the politics. They punt their responsibilities over to judges, and those activist judges, one ring to rule them all, with words like right-wing, fascist, bigot. The article was describing the state of Germany in 2015, and that's the key in the immigration timeline for Europe. From 2011 to 2015, progressives championed the Arab Spring and the Syrian civil war. People like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, through the State Department, were training activists all over the Middle East and Northern Africa. I've shown this to you multiple times. As a result, in that 4-year time span, over 1 million migrants flooded into the Eurozone. From 2016 to 2020, as unchecked immigration was being championed by globalists all over the world, another 2 million from the Middle East and Africa continued to cross into Europe. Nothing has changed. Combining all the numbers from 2011 until today, Europe, just from the Middle East and Africa, has received over 7.5 million migrants. And this is the most conservative estimate. It's taken from data that is actually, all of it is known. Now, who knows how many people slipped in undetected? 7.5 million. And let me give you some perspective on this. If those migrants would create their own country within Europe, 7.5 million would be enough to make them the 15th largest country in the entire Eurozone. And there are 27 countries in the EU. They would be larger than Ireland, Finland, Denmark, and Bulgaria. They'd almost be as big as Austria. but nothing bad has ever come out of Austria. You cannot take a people with completely different culture, different societal morals, rules, and laws, and expect everything to be just okay. Well, you can if you can agree on anything, but we don't agree on a lot. Like, I think women shouldn't have to wear a face covering or, a black outfit from the head to the toes. I mean, if women look at me, which they never do, I want to be able to see it. You know what I mean? I don't want to just see the little slit in the eye because I don't know. That could be a dude underneath that dress. But let's stick with Germany here for a second. They are now considering a new law in Germany to make a women-only train. Okay, now this is interesting. A women-only train. First of all, how do you describe a woman? I mean, who's on there? If I said I was a woman, could I go on? And why not? Now, why are they doing this? Because of sexual assaults on trains. They're surging. That seems like a problem, that you don't just say, hey, we're going to add a new train car. No, it seems like you solve that problem by figuring out who's assaulting women and arresting them. And if they're from Germany, great, put them in prison. If they're not from Germany, get them the hell out of Germany. Here's a Yahoo article, and a German politician. They use the example of Japan. Now, they both stay very, very clear. They are not saying the sexual assaults, why they're happening in the first place. No, they're not. This article highlighted some investigation work done by a local news outlet. They found that over 55% of the crimes were committed by migrants. What? That wasn't in the national story? I wonder why they left that part out. Let's stick with Germany here for a second. A confidential police document was leaked to Spiegel. It revealed intimidation, threats, and violence in no-go areas within the cities. They said the attacks in these areas are, quote, a deliberate showdown with the state expressing perpetrators' contempt for our society. So, wait a minute, are no-go zones real? Well, not if you talk to politicians in the UK. No, they're not. They claim that term is only used by the dastardly far right. Man, I hate those people. But if you're a British police chief in 2014, you state migrants come in from some of these zones and are, quote, taking the law into their own hands. And they just have their own form of community justice. Oh, I wonder if there's a name for that kind of justice or those laws. Sharia? No. Cindy? No, it's Sharia. That's what it was. Sharia, like Sherry and Maria put together, except not like that at all. Back in 2013, just as migrants were beginning to flood in, and before the activists and politicians seized the narrative, the BBC reported how there was video proof that Muslim groups were patrolling certain neighborhoods. They said things like, get out of here, and hurled slurs at gay people. They assaulted people for how they dressed and said they were, quote, vigilantes implementing Islam upon your own necks. Now, that sounds bad on the surface and then all the way through. It sounds like, to the contrary of the spineless politicians, that there are no-go zones in the UK. And talk to the police in France and they'll confirm the same thing. Like, here's a French cop that said, quote, of course there are no-go zones in France, where the police cannot intervene or do their jobs in safety, and it is the same for firefighters, pretty much any representative of the state, including the lovely ladies. These accounts from actual police officers, I mean, I don't know if the last one sounded like that, but they're not politicians. They are too numerous to list in one show. But the lawmakers will never admit that their grand redesign of society has failed. Or has it? A cop in France summed it up perfectly. Quote, it's not just a problem with this government, it's a problem with all French governments over the last 20 years. Governments will never admit that there are no-go zones because it's a sign of a failed state. Keir Starmer, who I don't believe at all, said globalism is ending. Was that you that said that? He said it failed the citizens of every major country in the world. But like Germany, the UK, and France, the ramifications have been a little devastating, a little bit. But is this just a problem in Europe? Or is it also starting here in the United States? It couldn't, right? It couldn't. It wouldn't happen here. I mean, certainly not in Texas. Next. All right, I've got a fun question for you. Going to ruin your, evening. What's living inside of you? Oh my gosh, I knew. Yeah, parasites. I know. You think, oh, to heavens, man, I'm not living in a third world country. Well, maybe soon. It's a human problem. And if you ever find yourself dealing with one, you don't want to wait 3 days for an appointment and another 5 for, prescription. I want that thing, if I have one, living inside of me, gone. My wife and I have started taking ivermectin for a couple of days every month just because of this. I mean, this is a fact that happened. So I want to talk to you about Jace Medical's new parasite use case. It's a 90-day supply of medications designed to fight back hard when you need it the most. And it does include ivermectin and other stuff, which I can't pronounce. I mean, a doctor of humanity, man, not of medicine. Although, bottom line is this. It is the fastest and most affordable option for this kind of situation. And it comes from the folks already that I trust to help me be prepared when it comes to emergencies, life-saving medications. Side note, this doesn't work on maybe a nosy mother-in-law, I'm just saying, or an annoying boss, or people like me. It's only for the parasites living inside of you. Go to jace.com. Enter the promo code Beck at checkout. You can get your discount now. That's promo code Beck at jase.com. Within the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, in a suburb called Plano, is a mosque called Epic, man. It's the East Plano Islamic Center. We first heard what this mosque was planning. They were planning on upgrading into a mini city from an organization called the RAIR Foundation, R-A-I-R. They released this information a couple of months ago. And I don't know what to think about this. When we first saw it, I mean, look, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm a Mormon. When was he going to tell us that he was a Mormon? Yeah, I know. We tricked you. Anyway, that was a Mormon community, back in the 1800s. I don't have a problem. But you know what their first thing they did was they organized a parade. They were crazy back then. Oh, yeah. They organized a parade. It was in the middle of the desert. No one was around. No one. They all got and had a parade. And so what? They could watch it themselves? I don't know. But they carried the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution Bill of Rights. Okay. The point that Brigham Young was making was, yeah, we might have just been chased out of that country that we just came from, but their principles are right. They're right. It's the people that sometimes go wrong. Okay. So I don't have a problem if you want to build a city as long as it's based on the U.S. Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, and everybody is celebrating it. Yeah. Isn't this a great country? So is this real? Is this possible that this is what's happening in places like the UK, France, Germany, all over Europe? Is it happening in Texas of all places? So we started looking into it. Much of what they're proposing is right out in the open, and you can find it on their website. They are planning to build what can almost be described as sort of a mini city on 402 acres of land in Dallas-Fort Worth. It includes areas for businesses, a new large mosque directly in the middle, and check this video out. They produced this. Watch.
Epic City is more than just a neighborhood. It's a way of life, a meticulously designed community that brings Islam to the forefront, a community that blends with nature, crafted to elevate your living experience. With single-family homes, multifamily townhomes and apartments, senior living, and in the heart, a mosque and a school. parks for Eid prayer, carnivals, and community events. Multiple fields for sports including soccer, cricket, tennis, and volleyball.
I mean, kind of sounds a little exclusionary to me, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But if you trace the beginning of no-go zones in places like Europe, is this what it looked like? Is this how it was sold? I don't know. And I want to be fair. The leader at the East Plano Islamic Center stated to the Dallas Observer that this city is, quote, an open community. Anyone can come in. We're welcoming all people of all backgrounds and diversity, and we're offering them facilities that we think would be very, very useful. That sounds nice. He goes on, quote, we're going to be given back to this state and this country, and we're going to be showing what it means to be a Muslim neighborhood. Okay, so it is a Muslim-only community or not? I guess that's what Salt Lake City or Provo could say. This is a Mormon community, but it's not ruled by any kind of Mormon laws. Is this a neighborhood of all backgrounds and diversity? I don't know. The Fair Housing Act makes it illegal to make an all whatever kind of community. A Muslim-only city would be illegal in Texas. So what's being planned behind the scenes? I don't know. If anything, I don't know. I look forward to hearing from somebody at Epic to get their side of the story. But the Epic website says this: we will limit sales only to persons we believe will contribute to the overall makeup of our community. Okay, what does that mean? I didn't really know what to think about this, and then the governor of Texas began to weigh in. Governor Abbott specifically mentions Sharia law and announced an official investigation into Epic City, including attempts to circumvent the law. A couple of weeks ago, Abbott announced that the Texas Rangers were now handling the investigation. And what was previously known about Epic was, quote, the tip of the iceberg. We're uncovering legal violations by Epic City that go far beyond what people realize. The proposed community will never see the light of day, end quote. Now, what the heck is going on in Dallas? The real question here is exclusion of people that are not Muslim, and whether this city will be under some kind of Sharia law. If it's not, if it is an American-loving, U.S.-based constitutional, you can build whatever you want. The developers claim none of that stuff is true, but the Texas governor seems to imply differently. Again, we don't know yet. But how would they get around the first one, a Muslim-only exclusive city? They couldn't. Here's a separate Muslim developer bragging on a podcast how it's done. Watch this.
The way what we're doing, brother, like you cannot make it exclusive, like non-Muslims not allowed, kuffar not allowed. What we're doing, there's something called association fee. I don't know what it's called in Dubai. Like your maintenance fee that you pay yearly, to cutting the service fee, to cut the grass, to remove the snow and whatnot. So that service fee will put there 75% of the service fee you're paying goes to the masjid.
So they would automatically not want to come.
Automatically, if you are a practicing Christian, I would advise you, why help the Muslims, you know? Let Muslims do their own thing, right? So this is the way we're going to put the clause. And our attorney already put it there.
So your tax goes to the mosque. That's a little like the Mormons saying, hey, 75% of the tax is going to the Mormon temple. No. So there is precedent for developers creating similar communities to game the system and get around the laws like the Fair Housing Act. Almost like there's a playbook for it. Is this how it began in Europe? Is this how it starts? Again, the East Plano Islamic Center says no. All we have to go on right now is what publicly is available pending an investigation from the state of Texas, or what has been said or done by developers in the past, which brings me to the second thing. Will this community ever be under some sort of Sharia law? The Islamic Center says, of course not. But there are signs that Epic has been operating at least a little within their own rules or their own laws. This one seems a little disturbing. The Texas Funeral Service recently had to send Epic a cease and desist letter ordering them to immediately stop illegal funeral service operations. Wow. Okay. Now, maybe it's a one-off or signs that Islamic law is being enforced more broadly. Governor Abbott stated in his press conference and his press release that the East Plano Islamic Center is, quote, knowingly breaking state law in many ways. What are those laws? What would happen in the proposed upgraded city? Again, just a few miles from Dallas. What does EPIC support? The laws of Texas and the United States Constitution, or Sharia? Well, here's one of their leaders, the same one I quoted earlier, on just that. Watch.
It is not my right to legislate or your right to legislate. No Supreme Court, no system of government, no democracy where they vote. Can you believe it? A group of people coming together and voting, and the majority vote will then be the law of the land. What gives you the right to prohibit something or allow something? Who gave you this right? Are you creators? Are you all knowledgeable? Do you understand the repercussions, the implications of the laws that you're going to pass? أَفَحُكْمَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ يَبْغُونَ? Do they wish to follow the laws of ignorance? Verily, Allah is our judge. He knows what's best for us.
I gotta tell you, I don't think that sounds like a good neighbor to have. Now, he goes on to say that no system of government is greater than what they had in the 7th century. He then chastised Muslims who don't follow Islamic law. Now, the jury is still out on Epic City and what exactly is happening near Dallas, but communities like this are being proposed in multiple locations all throughout the United States. Texas has had a history with this kind of thing, including Islamic Sharia law tribunals. Oh, I can't wait to remind you about this next. All right, let me tell you about Home Title Lock. Home Title Lock is an organization that will actually help save your home. Because here's what Home Title Lock, I mean, there's a giant hand from the sky taking your home. That's actually not the way it happens. What happens is it's all online. A cyber criminal is going to go in and try to find exactly what your name is, where you bank, your deed to your house. And if they can take your deed from their house, all they have to do is just take it, fill out a few forms, file it with the state or the county, and lo and behold, they now own your house. And then what happens? What happens then is they take your house and go to a bank and say, hey, this is our house. I want to take out a loan against this. Then they take all the money, they leave, and you start getting bills from the bank. Hey, why haven't you paid for this loan? You didn't take the loan out. You don't own the house. The sheriff arrives, and it goes downhill from there. I want you to go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code Glenn250 right now and save. It's HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code Glenn250. So just got an email from somebody who says, Glenn, I'm Aaron, don't want to give all the information, at a Dallas-based communications firm. I've been a fan of yours since the days of Fox. We are working with Community Capital Partners, a developer of the proposed Epic City master plan community in Collin County. I heard A.G. Paxton on your radio show and noted that you're having a TV special on the Epic City tonight. Would you be interested in having one of the developers on your show to talk about the project? Anyone can buy a house or open a business in the development. Yeah, but do I have to pay the tax? Do you have any kind of special taxes? The community will partner with local law enforcement, just like other master planned communities and unincorporated areas in Collin and Hunt counties, and follow all local, state, and federal law. The only people who have mentioned Sharia law are elected officials and people on social media not related to the project. I'm happy to visit. Well, we'd love to have Dan on the radio program tomorrow. Sorry we didn't get that until, showtime. But we would love to have Dan on tomorrow. I can't wait to hear, can my producer wear a bikini while she's playing pickleball on any of those courts? Will that be okay? Or would that cause a little problem in the community? everybody has standards, but does she have to have her own pickleball court? I don't know. We'll have that on tomorrow's. And look, I don't know. These people might be totally fine. We've been dealing with this all over the world, saying one thing, doing another. It's pretty hard to explain. That was the guy who was one of the founders of this proposed project, talking about Sharia law, and all of the rules that you'd have to be ignorant not to follow. That's going to be hard to explain, that one, but I'm looking forward to it. I have had this very exact problem happen about 10 years ago on this program. Just down the street here, we're just outside of Dallas in a town called Irving, Texas. Huge Muslim population. In fact, it's the most diverse population in any city in America is Irving. And we had big population. There were some talk about Sharia law with some of the Islamic centers here in Irving. So I decided to just talk to the people of the mosque. What do the imams have to say? Where do they stand on this? We had a delightful conversation until I brought up Hamas, and that kind of, when I said, well, so will you deny Hamas? Right after that, this happened. Watch.
I am here, I'm sorry to say it, back to the first point, I am here to discuss issue with Islamic Tribunal. So please don't grab us to another situation. Maybe we are ready for any discussion.
No, I know that. And I think we had a good.
It is open. We are ready for any point to discuss with. But the main point here the reason we are here to discuss this issue. What kind of cases Islamic Tribunal handle?
And I think we have.
And you start with the Sharia and what Sharia? Why the people afraid from Sharia? I'm sorry to say it. One point related to this. Cut head is not just in Sharia law, just in Islamic law. It's everywhere. Who said that just in Islamic law? That's even another Sharia, in Jew Sharia, in Christian Sharia, in American here, we cut head for some reason. So I'm asking you an easy question. If anyone kill another, he should get killed. By law, by Islamic law, by governor, he should get killed. What is the wrong with that? If a thief jump, I'm sorry, to your house, scare your wife, scare your children, scare your neighbor, and they did that with our stores, this is the law to cut his hand, because if he feels my hands will cut because of that, he will think about this 100 times. He will never do it. And if he do that one time, he will never do it again. Look how many millions of dollars American here on other states or other state outside spend for to keep the criminal in jail, or a lot of millions of dollars. We can't save that. Just let him go, and that's it, because he did something wrong in the whole community and they scared the whole community. Why not? So back please to the point. Islamic Tribunal, yes, we never deal with anything of that. It is not. We don't have authority for that. We don't have power for that.
But I want to make sure
we
I
just
understand
have
that
two cases.
But you're okay. You seem to be okay with that if you had the power for that. But you don't have the power.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As Imam said, we have system. We are very organized people.
Right.
If sorry for this example, la qaddar Allah, somebody killed my dad, I shouldn't kill him.
Right.
I have to take this case to the judge, and judge have to the governor. This is system, procedure I have to follow. So it is not like this, one kill this, let's get him killed. No way. We have I give you just an easy example for leader Umar ibn al-Khattab. This is after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He sent one to Yemen, and he told him, before he leaves, he asked him, always as a habit, what did you do if the people bring a thief for you? He said, I will cut his hand. Okay. He said, you do that. Okay. Umar said, this is the behind, after Prophet Muhammad, after Abu Bakr and the Prophet Muhammad, he said, okay, if one person came with me without work, unemployed, I will cut your head. because he has no job. So if you robber something from the store or grab something from here to eat, nothing happened to you. So, but if you have your job and you enough income and you take care about your children and you have house and you have car and you robber from any store or thief from here or there, you have. So this is the law. But please, the point with Sharia, I ask people, we are not here to do that at all. It is not our authority, it's not our power, it's not our job. We have specific people to do that stuff. And those people have full of power and full of authority, full of knowledge too. So we are not dealing with these cases at all. It's not our job. And our cases is family cases, just religious part. That's it.
Even the point that you mentioned, Dr. Tahir, I mean, there is a procedure that there is a judge hearing sessions to investigate and find out that to bring the proof and the evidences beyond doubt that this man, he committed the crime, whether to confess or other evidences or witnesses that saw, the same with the system we see in the civil world today. Then after all this procedure now, found out that there is no doubt that this man, he committed this crime, not for the hunger, not for the unemployment or whatever the reason, excuses, there is an excuse and doubtful. That doubt of what's called reasons of doubt of what a crime committed for. I think at that time the judge will say your case will be, if that any doubt, even the Sharia talk about that, mention about that, even a single doubt that this man did it not with the intention ahead of time and planning and all this, then will be excused.
Yeah.
Lesser punishment will be than to be maybe in prison, maybe to be in
blame,
whatever. But beyond doubt, beyond all this, so there are a lot of procedures to wait until finally he is the one. Then what is the code? And the code, yes, we have a verse in the Quran says, "Walakum," I will say it in Arabic, "Walakum fil qisas haya ya ulil albab."
Right.
That means we in Texas here, we used to have cowboy time, that to hang the people in the public square, downtown maybe to say. Why it was in public, not behind the walls in the jail? Because let the people to see the crime committed like this will be the same punishment and preserve the, as we said, the one of the principles and goals or objectives that the Sharia that to receive or to accomplish, that to observe and protect the rest of the society from such crime or such person that to be evil that way.